after what was a 10,000 gold lead for most of the game, peaking up at about 20,000 gold lead for Cloud9. They failed to close out game number 2. Alliance make the comeback, and we're now here in game number 3. A best of 1 to determine who gets into the DAC European playoffs for that coveted slot to this semi-major tournament. Gods, quite the comeback, but Cloud9 did have most of the control of the game. Is Alliance going to be able to do this? Can they give us a magical game 3 and advance into these playoffs?
They've shown improvements day by day, and that's why even though they're losing this series, it was already a much better showing against Cloud9 than what we saw on their first best of 3. It still looked like they were destined to lose the series until they managed to pull that crazy comeback. So we'll see what they take away from it going into this game 3, whether or not Cloud9 can stay composed. Players like Loda, EGM have been down and in these terrible positions before. I feel like Cloud9 is a team more likely to be rattled by such a loss. So I still feel like Cloud9 come into this game 3 though, like slightly favored. I mean, maybe even more than slightly favored based on the overall performance of the two teams we've seen so far.
That was something else, man. I was looking at the game, and you and I were just kind of like buying time in the cast, waiting for something to happen, waiting for C9 to try and close out the game. But every single time they win high ground against the sniper, it just wasn't good enough. Even with the supposed to be base breaking combination of Lone Druid and the Warlock, it wasn't good enough. And we'll see a different draft here in this game 3 as the Lone Druid is going to be banned out by Alliance. They don't want to deal with that again. Cloud9 will pick up an Ogre first pick rather than Slardar. Alliance immediately respond with a first pick Slardar of their own. And we'll see what the combination heroes are going to be. Do they take Sniper away? Because that could be Cloud9's choice with Ogre. Instead, they go for the Darkseer Slardar combo.
Yeah, often within like a best of 3 or a best of 5, you'll see like a little mini metagame develop. And I feel like going to game 3, if I was one of the captains drafters, in my head would be like, Ogre Sniper duo is winning games right now. Like, this is something which you want to maybe just go right into. So Alliance ban the Lone Druid, and Cloud9's probably thinking, hey, if we first pick Slardar, they get Ogre Sniper, and Ogre Sniper is pretty good against Slardar because more often than not, as Slardar, you're initiating on one of the frontliners, and Sniper then is just going to pew everyone away. But they don't take Sniper, they take SF, and I like it. I think they're more comfortable with the SF. They were picking it early in some of the previous games, but then they got counterpicked by the Sniper. This time around, they have the option to either ban the Sniper or make sure that they can do pretty well in that lane with the Ogre support.
What happened to the Ember Spirit? You notice that? 1-2, Ember Spirit not banned away. One of Baby Knight's favorites.
Was banned out in the second stage last game, but yeah, it is surprising to see it really going down a rung as far as priority. It seems, for the most part, it's these more utility heroes and supports that are being prioritized, and then occasionally you'll see like, yeah, the SFs, the snipers, the Lone Druids, but I don't know. I don't really have this is why I think Ember's stopping picked. It just seems like teams have maybe decided something else works for them better than the Ember, because Ember is still a very scary hero in the right hands.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't really fit into Cloud9's lineup now with the SF, but it could work for Alliance. They do have the Darkseer with the Ember Spirit. That would be a powerful combo for Limp to be able to run over C9's lineup about 15 minutes. See if Alliance, what they're going to ban here.
Yeah.
What's left?
Perhaps some of the supports, they banned the Disruptor. I mean, this Crystal Maiden's the hero from last game. Oh, the offlane Enigma we saw.
Yeah.
Going back to that first series was very problematic. Gives C9 that teamfight option, and of course the Lifestealer ban with the Slardar, an obvious choice. All 3 Alliance wins in DAC have come with Loader on Lifestealer, so definitely worthy of a ban, with or without Slardar, I'd say at this point.
Shadow Demon for Alliance. That's going to be tough for that SF to deal with. If he gets disrupted, we've seen how some of these heroes like SF and Luna can just crumple under the weight of their own illusions.
And I think it also is setting up for a Luna / Terrorblade as their carry, probably. I mean, it is a nice save hero, but I feel like they've been preferring the Venge. Like, if they weren't going to go for an illusion-oriented hero, to me, this would just be Alliance picking a Venge instead as that 5 position, or even the Dazzle they've been picking more. So the SD to me makes me think they're going, Terrorblade, Luna. They've got maybe just try and take the team fight advantage with a Luna, but even the Terrorblade works pretty well against the SF because of his range advantage. And then you've got Reflection, which is the same thing the aggressive Disruption does. Reflection completely can cripple an SF as well.
So how do you deal with the SD illusion pushes? What kind of lineup do you want? You want to see some Mjolnir heroes? You want to see some aggressive initiators? Don't let Alliance get set up in the first place. What are your thoughts?
Axe is going to be a good option, I think, just so you can get the jump first and take the initiation factor into your own hands. I don't think you have to necessarily worry about clearing the illusions. Just put yourself in a position where, like the game they were in last game, like you get an advantage like that where you're controlling the map. You're not worried about that illusion push too much. So I feel like Cloud9, rather than try and draft to clear illusions out, just draft heroes that are going to suit their own style. And they're going to go for a more... I mean, they often go for very early 5-man push. We saw last game, 10 minutes in, they'd taken 5 towers. Like, that's an incredibly fast pace that no other teams are even really matching right now. And Chen will do a very similar thing to their draft.
Yeah, this takes the tempo away from Alliance's potential push strategy, puts it into the hands of Cloud9. It also helps deal with those dual lanes, right? The Slardar Darks here. We have we still can have a potential, Cloud9 can grab a safe lane carry that can deal with that kind of pressure relatively okay, but then you also have the Chen rotations that come in that can do more than any other traditional support could when he brings in those first 2 creeps.
Yeah, my first thought was like, oh, it could actually hurt their lanes, but then like you say, like when you do come in, you're getting kills and completely turning that lane around. So we'll have to see what Ace ends up on, but it needs to be something that's not going to just die to that lane. The Weavers may be an option. We've seen it a lot against the Slardar, and even though it doesn't sound great with the Corrosive Haze, you can always time-lapse it off, and you are hard to get on top of with sprint, thanks to the Shikuchi.
We said TB or Luna. Alliance, haven't decided either one. Maybe they'll leave it open for last pick just to get a bit more information. They could choose their mid against the SF right now. If so, do you have any ideas behind there?
The Ember is still a tempting option if you want to go like that Luna approach, like having an Ember with the Veil means you're worried about that 5-man push coming in. If Ember can get a decent time on Veil, you've got a lot of burst damage to go just throw into the Cloud9 draft. But I think then you're also worried about them just seeing this like mech plus pipe timing where all that damage can also be negated if you do farm a bit too slow. And if you lose one fight, you get set back.
Ooh.
Well, that is not the hero I don't think anyone was really expecting at this point.
But then again, we made our predictions before the Chen pickup, right? And this is still a pushing style hero, very similar to the Terrorblade. Heavy amount of intense amount of physical damage being output by this Clinks, and will gobble up Chen creeps for breakfast and use that extra HP to his own good.
Yeah, this is a nice option to deal with the hero. Cloud9 instantly picked Timbersaw, which could be the safe laner, could be the offlane. I think more likely going to be the safe laner, just based on how their role allocations typically work and the fact they currently have no initiation whatsoever, which makes me lean more towards Hesijo picking up that like last pick, Axe, Sand King, Centaur type hero. But a good option against the Clinks with all the reactive armor. Both SF and Timbersaw aren't too scared of Clink skanks once they have items. The first early couple rotations, if you're playing that super aggressive style, rotating Clinks with just like Treads, Blightstone, Soul Ring, where you get creeps, level 7, level 8, just roam around the map, can be problematic. But once you have a few like stat items, SF has very high armor, has good HP pool, he's not going to die to Clink skanks very easily. Although the Slardar Corrosive Haze is there to help enable the Clinks.
What ties it all together for Alliance? Because they have this sustain here in the darks here. They've got plenty of pressure in the lanes. Is it aggressive?
Hero?
Yeah, I was thinking Quap. Yeah. That was my suggestion.
Quap's is, I guess, more like the flavor progressing. The Ember is still a possibility. You got magic damage against the Timbersaw, so that may be something you're interested in. Tinker, that's also a possible. It would have been a good possibility. Bit more magic burst damage, and also stops the 5-man push very well.
If you want a little bit of magic damage, say you don't want to go for the Ember, the Marana versus the SF. The only reason I'm kind of suggesting is because they do have a Shadow Demon. Or nay?
Yeah, I think Marana can work for them. Limp is very comfortable in the hero. I've seen him play quite a bit. It takes a bit more farm, perhaps. Like, I feel like a Queen can perhaps fight a bit earlier on, whereas Marana, you're maybe going to hit that Axe timing after you've already lost, like, 3 tier 1 towers and maybe a tier 2 tower. Sometimes the Axe is just a bit slow, but I think the hero can definitely work this game. It's the right kind of fit for their draft. I don't think they want more physical. I think they want the Marana, the Quap, but they have a completely different idea. They want to kind of delay it out, but
yeah,
Alchemist.
I was gonna say like both those heroes we're talking about, right? Mobile magic damage dealers. Both of them have a problem with the Spirit Breaker. I was like, oh Jesus, that Spirit Breaker is gonna be a problem no matter what. I thought they were gonna turn to like maybe a Puck, but completely different route. They go for an Alchemist, more minus armor, and a lot more farm time. Cloud9, they do have some pushing power in Chen as well as the SF, especially with the Bloodlusted SF. This is either going to go amazing for Alliance, and they're going to hold off those first couple of pushes, and then Clinks is going to take up time and do things while Alchemist farms, or they're just going to get run over so quickly.
I think the big question is how well will Alliance be able to defend without the Alchemist? Because ideally you want to have the other 4 heroes defending and delaying and being disruptive to Cloud9, pushing and affect their timings while Alchemist just farms. What we saw Nip do the other day with the Alchemist of Qualifier, where the whole time the game was like 4v5. Alliance were trying to just push down towers and make stuff happen with their Chaos Knight draft around the top lane, but they were trading evenly while Alchemist free farmed. If your other 4 heroes can be effective around the map while Alch farms the jungle, then you're looking good if you're Alliance. But Cloud9 have a pretty scary lineup as far as being able to push towers early with Chen. And Alliance's wave clear is somewhat lackluster.
Yeah, my concern is that the Clinks feels like you mentioned the aggressive, like level 7, level 8, spends time in your jungle. He's very threatening, can kill supports really easily. Like that's the aggressive part that buys space for Alchemist. But I don't feel like the rest of Alliance's crew, besides the Clinks and maybe the Slardar, can really do that. Shadow Demon sets up other heroes. Maybe he sets up a Slardar stun. But the one notable hero is Jonas Umfan's Darkseer. That's a slower offlane, very oppressive in lane, but doesn't go out and make things happen when you need it to happen. You need to be able to buy space for the Alchemist. That's the one real concerning thing for me for the Alliance team.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So I'm not sure what the answer is going to be. Perhaps it's going to come down to winning the lanes hard. You've got this Darkseer Slardar. I don't know. The safe lane isn't like necessarily a hugely dominant lane winning. Like Clinks is pretty good at zoning, but like SD Clinks, like that's not like a scary killing combo. So Spirit Breaker with some potential Ogre support, or even like an early Chen rotation with some creeps, they can do some work to the Clinks. And if anything, pressuring Clinks in the lane is one of the best things you can do. This hero is not particularly good against aggressive lanes, and with an early Blightstone, he has even less stats to work around. So I feel like shutting down Loader in the early game lane stage could be a good approach to take for Cloud9.
And then on the flip side of things, if they do that, right, then Darkseer Slardar, they try and get more aggressive on Ace's Timbersaw because they're like, guys, our carry's being threatened. We need to threaten their carry. But Spirit Breaker is one of the better heroes to actually help out the safe lane from an offlaner position. If he gets in TP, it's a charge in. He can fight anytime past level 1. As soon as he gets the 1 in charge and 1 in bash, he's a fighting hero.
Absolutely. So see where Ogre looks to go. It looks like for now he will be headed towards that middle lane, has the Orb of Venom coming out for himself to harass with, so wanting to at least zone and do a bit of damage to Limp's early game. But to me, Alchemist is always one of those heroes. Like, is it really worth even trying to smoke gank him or pressure him that much in the lane stage? He's always going to farm. You're better off shutting down the tempo controllers and the heroes that are going to create space for the Alchemist in the mid game and stop you from pushing towers. And that's where I look at the Clinks. So Noya will throw a couple Ignites mid, it looks like, but I'd like to see him move off of this lane after the first couple creep waves. Once you've secured the SF's souls, that's like, to me, what he needs to do. Get SF souls and then leave the lane.
And that'll probably time up nicely when Rise is probably picked up his maybe level 2, hopefully level 3 by that point. You have the 2 creeps that you can go gank bottom together. If they actually back off of that mid lane, smoke together, we could see that kind of rotation that actually kills Loda's Clinks and really does shut down that safe lane carry that you're talking about.
Yep. Early Tornado. Ryze is just happy to farm for now. We look for like a fast Arcane Boots, maybe even have to pick up a Dust early to make that rotation down bottom. It's something he'll need. And laning stage-wise, it does feel like neither team necessarily getting an edge from the lanes. It's going to come down to those first couple Chen rotations to really see how things are going to pan out.
And he's feeling the ion shells, and he's also feeling the fact that he can't get close enough to get reactive armor stacks. So then the Slardar's Crush is all the more threatening while he's low armor. But eventually, with experience, he will be able to deal with this aggro dual lane.
Yep. Auk is feeling the heat mid, only has 2 CS with the 1 deny. But even Baby Knight himself, he wasn't getting all the CS that he should be getting. I feel like he's missed a couple. The tower made it a bit harder for him. The acid spray makes it a bit harder for him, so has led to Neuer sticking around a little bit longer and maybe calling for an early shrine usage now that he's out of HP and mana. You can't just suicide anymore, so may tell Baby Knight, hey, just throw some razors to farm and then let's shrine up. But as it stands, early pressure on the Auk does mean that fast bottle or Soul Ring will be slowed down.
Ryze is not sure what to do right now. It's 2.5 minutes in. He's got no creeps to work off of from this area. They don't have a smoke either.
He's got the Dust Boots, so this is what I expected and wanted to see. Get ideally an early double creep and then gank bottom with the Dust. And I think it works a lot better if Neuer can come with for this gank as well, but even without, just put pressure on bottom lane, even if you're not finding kills.
It worked best if they were actually smoked up as well, since the wards laid down by Alliance early on does scout Ryze's rotation. They now reveal they definitely know. Loda's going to push out Invis and I guess do a little scouting, figure out what's what. They are going to be able to get the charge on EGM. Well-timed disruption, but he's going to be pretty well surrounded here by all of these creeps and heroes. So that will be our first blood. A bash from Hesta Joe secures the kill.
Yeah, now they can just take over this bottom lane. They didn't have to use too much for that. They've still got another charge, and Loda can't really stay down there. SD can't easily go back to that lane. It feels like a good lane for C9 to start dominating. I think immediately Alliance like, right, this bottom lane isn't going so well. Loda's actually, I mean, I don't know where he's headed. Perhaps all the way to the top lane. Perhaps he's looking for a pre-level 6 gank using this early strafe, because he is eyeing off Baby Knight, who doesn't have his shrine. That was used by Neuer earlier, so it does make him a bit more vulnerable. But Bottle is coming out on the courier, so would be a nice play if Loda could find that courier.
Oh, he got spotted.
Yeah, nice.
He didn't time that. If he had gotten back to the Roshan, maybe all of this time would have been worth it, and he could have invised up again and gone on mid, but he's going to have to give that up now and head over to the top lane and try and 1v1 against Timbersaw. It's going to be Darkseer, Yonosamfan, who will... Maybe he'll take bottom lane, or... Well, I guess he can't really jungle because Limp's occupying that as well.
Yep. Yeah, the bottom tier 1 tower is getting low. This is where the Ogre comes in as well to make sure that there's no big Alliance commitment to defend this one. Darkseer is going to be the one who has to rotate to defend the bottom tier 1 tower. So even not getting the tier 1 tower, it's still worth the pressure in forcing these moves. And immediately Ace comes back bottom, so it does suggest they really want this tier 1 tower, and they can ideally get a kill as well.
As Joe has the charge. Now, our Timbersaw is not really going to be able to do much here to help him out. Hanskin's going to loop around the side here. Doesn't crush anything, just making sure that C9 can't pursue. This Ion Shell, double Ion Shell, is actually keeping them back from pushing this tower. They may get it eventually, but they do get stalled up, and Loda gets a lot of free farm during that time.
Yeah, I think this is rotations that ultimately work well for Alliance. They come out slightly on top. They delay the bottom push just a little bit. They get Loda a free lane to get his level 6 going. So just Loda needs to just be level 6 with his Soul Ring and like a Ring of Aquila as early as possible, so we can start actually making some plays around the map. And this bottom lane is still being protected thanks to this double Ion Shell.
They really don't have a way to clear through the Ion Shell creeps. Like, none of these supports have, unless Neuer's going to come in and Fire Blast a creep. That's not going to do a whole lot. Hesta Joe can't really help either. So it's just repeated Timber Chains from Ace because he doesn't have Chakram yet.
Limp is level 4 though. You can see really the outcome of that mid lane for him. It's not a lot of farm, not much XP, but...
Oh, Jonas and Fawn, you were doing so well, but as soon as you actually give them this kill, and all that time committed by Cloud9 becomes worth it because they get that offlaner.
And they've similar to the Arcane Boot, so they've got the sustain for the lane. Timbersaw hits level 6, so he can actually be a bit more independent. And Handskin, careful, my friend. Ensnare was on cooldown, luckily for him. It just came back up on the Dark Troll Summoner. This is where it looks like C9 want to invade through this Radiant jungle, put up some wards, limit the Alchemist's farming locations as much as possible. Although for now they just don't feel confident in going too much further beyond where that bounty room was.
I'm just going to find just this double stack, and that should finish off his level 6. Lotus done something similar here at the top lane. Charge, where is that going from Hess to Joe? Looks like he just trying to get back to base a little bit quicker. Rotation from Baby Knight with the haste rune. He's going to find Hanskin here. A TP out will allow Hanskin to survive. More time.
Yeah, I saw that haste rune bottom. I was like, this is like the dream rune to get as an SF. I'd love to see Baby Knight get active now. He's been quietly farming away, and it looks like he will possibly get EGM. With the haste rune wearing off, he actually has to back off, it seems. But yeah, SF with early haste rune can be very dangerous. That guaranteed triple raise or anywhere on the map can find kills on most heroes, but well played by Alliance to not give up any kills to it.
Yeah, honestly, I think Alliance doing a very respectable job getting themselves space. They are going to be able to get a charge onto Yoda-Sampan, and that will be his death.
Just enough mana for Ace to combo him down. That is consecutive deaths on the Darkseer. Means no real mech inside. Does pick up the raindrops in response to that. As a pseudo answer to some of that damage coming out from the Spirit Breaker or the Timbersaw potentially. More so the Spirit Breaker.
Lovely Chen creeps will help tank the tier 1 tower while they've got SF and the siege creep help beating it down. The Alchemist does not have the kind of wave clear to be able to deal with this one. The acid spray is just a minor annoyance. They're going to bring Hanskin in as well as Yonasamfon, so they can actually fight if Cloud9 try and make another case like that. So wisely, Cloud9 will back off.
Yeah, and they had good vision on the high ground, so they recognize enough of the TPs coming in that they may as well back off now. And once they see Alliance back off, they're back in, and Baby Knight gets the last hit on the tower, close to fishing his Dragonlance, and that Dragonlance makes it even easier to push. So we're seeing Cloud9 start to take control, push down all these outer towers, and it'll be a similar story to last game, just a little slower and later. They don't have that lone druid with the early level 7 Spirit Bear to push with, but what they do have is going to be the Chen creeps and an SF soon enough who can just take all these objectives on the map.
Sadly, Loda, you are not quite fast enough to be able to catch that courier bottom lane. Hester Joe's going to be stunned up, has the Ion Shell to contend with, but he can just charge out. Oh, Yoda-Savad, you saw him. He tried to get the animation out for Vacuum. Yeah. And if he had stopped that charge, maybe they could have actually killed this wily Spirit Breaker.
Good attempt. Not often you see that value Vacuum point level 7, but almost nets a kill for them in top lane. The pressure continues. Ace starting to feel fairly confident in himself after a tough laning stage. He's now got the max reactive armor, and he sees how low Limp is and wants to try bully him off this farm. Loda's actually being charged up. They know where Loda is and that he's coming in. But he's got support in the form of EGM's Shadow Demon.
Hester Joe's going to bounce into EGM right as he tries to go for the disruption. He gets it off now, but Loda's already been dusted up. Slowed down by Ace, hit by the full combination. Hester Joe gets off the ultimate. Now EGM's going to be stunned up by Noya, trying to pursue out there. Clips him with the chakram. That'll be enough to get the kill. Oh, and look at that. Baby Knight's got another haste rune, so they'll jog on over here. Burst down the wave with the Chen creeps. They'll probably take this tier 2.
It's one of those games that could be like a 20-0 stomp, or if Alliance hold and get the Radiance at a good time, it'll be a very close neck-and-neck game. Like, Cloud9 are at serious risk of snowballing. They have the ability to take all these outer towers to keep finding kills. Hestejo finds Limp at this mid lane, who doesn't have a TP, which is very dangerous for him. Gets some
shrine activated with the Surge. Limp will get there. He has a regen. He's good, but he is at such a precarious time in his lifeline because Timbersaw, you've got this whirling death. it just cuts the Alchemist down. It's so much quick damage just with the strength reduction as well as just the pure damage cutting you down. He has to play so safe, and Alliance have to play around him for the most part. And that sadly means that this Alchemist is going to get farm, but pretty much no one else is. Maybe Loda will get some farm, but I feel like these supports are going to be the poorest supports you've ever seen, which means no initiation from Hanskin.
Yeah. Shadow Demon still bootsless at 11 minutes in. EGM is in poverty central right now.
He's level 3.
Oh, I didn't notice that bit.
Oh, God. Poor Agam. Jesus.
Yeah,
Shen heal. Oh.
He hasn't. It's not really through fault of his own. The pressure down bottom came very early through the Chen rotation, and once that Chen rotates bottom, what lane do you go to? You can't help mid. It's an Alchemist. Like, there's no kill potential there. Perhaps you join up with your Slaughter and Darkseer up top, but then you're sharing XP 3 ways. This has just been a very difficult to lane game for Alliance due to the nature of their draft. They went very greedy with the Alk, and what you mentioned about the Timbersaw makes me kind of worried, because even if this Alk manages to quietly free farm away, get a good timing on his Radiance through the jungle farming, he is still going to be countered by Timbersaw at most stages, all stages of this game really, until maybe late game where he picks up a BKB as one of his items. But right now, Limp has got to be a bit concerned.
Loda going for a quick push up a top lane. This is the one big advantage. They do have the split push possibilities. The problem is Spirit Breaker is the split push counter. Loda's going to TP out, and the charge is canceled by Hasta Joe. There's our Arcane Rune.
It's almost like they recognize like a common theme in some of Alliance's games and wins. They're always going for this heavy split push style. They'll struggle in the lanes a bit, resort to split pushing, play this scrappy game. And I mean, they identified Spirit Breaker is the hero to fight that. And that's something which is already this game causing problems, because Alliance would love to be able to split push with Clinks to try and just like backdoor some towers. Alchemist, similar thing, but it's being taken away from them.
I think Cloud9, it seems like they're pushing power. They're one of the best teams that I've seen, just straight up pushing and taking these objectives in the first 10 minutes, and that also seems to be something that runs contradictory to what Alliance want to be able to accomplish. They always have a kind of rough laning phase in general, and rough laning phase just means that Cloud9 run you over when it comes to these objectives. They get such a large gold lead that certain kills, like maybe this one, with Loda picturing, he's peeking at Rise, trying to think maybe I can actually kill him, but it's not possible. He just has too much armor. He's got Ring of Bacillus and Helmet Dominator plus Point Booster.
Sad state of the game when at 30 minutes as a Clinks roaming around, you can't kill supports. It's only your bread and butter. And the other support's a Spirit... Well, no, the Spirit Breaker's not a support. The other support, being the Ogre, is also very tanky. Spirit Breaker as an offlane is very tanky. Every Cloud9 hero is mostly immune to getting solo killed by a Clinks. He needs a +1, but I guess that's the Slaughter. So we go back to what Alliance can do, and it's going to come down to perhaps Hanskin's Blink Dagger timing to help find pickoffs with Loda. And that Blink is not too far away, but it's also not particularly close.
Yeah, it's definitely not. And if they lose... If they try and fight, I think they actually almost have to give up these tier 2 towers just because they don't have that form of initiation. That sounds terrible, right? Especially in 7.0. Don't give up all your tier 2 towers. They'll take your shrines. But it almost seems like Alliance have no other options.
They're not ready to fight. None of their heroes are online. No Blink Slaughter. Clinks is somewhat itemless as well. Like, he's just had such a rough time with his lane and his inability to find kills when he did try and start roaming because of the advantage C9 had, that their whole lineup is not ready. They haven't even got Demonic Purge. So life is looking pretty difficult. Wall hasn't been leveled up just yet either. He's got 3 points in vacuum now, so I imagine we'll see like a level 10 point into the wall happen, but there we go. Another tier 2 tower, undefended. Loda's bottom, I guess trying to see if anyone TP's in that he can pick off, but again, who is that going to be? There's not really anyone that he can pick off.
Even if he does see somebody, have to be scared. Anytime he shows himself, Spirit Breaker's charging him. Every single time Loda's revealed himself on map for like a tower push or something, he's had a TP within 5 seconds. And it's just ridiculous. He's watching a creep wave die because he can't show on map. He's so scared of the space count.
They want to go for Ace. They saw him with an Observer Ward, but Ace isn't so much running from them as he is just power farming his way through the jungle. He's out of mana, so I don't imagine he'll hang around much longer, but Alliance, can they get here in time? They're close, and they will find him. They missed the vacuum,
they missed
though.
the vacuum, and they missed the
And the
crush.
crush.
Disaster!
That was like Ace did this little like stutter step where he suddenly turned around, like not before he even saw Loda, and it completely caught that Dark Zero by surprise. He thought he was walking into him, then it turned out he was actually going to retreat.
You know, the sad part is, even if they did get that gank, even if they got him with the disables, they vacuumed him, they crushed him, all that sort of thing, they wouldn't get that kill. Most likely, Ace would just be able to suicide, because I don't think they burst him fast enough. Yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, he'd gradually get the reactive armor procs up, and then at that point, searing arrows do less and less. I think it was very low chance they actually got the true kill on him. And already down bottom, C9 are grouped up, pushing things out. There's no real split push threat right now. Top lane, this is a tier 2 tower, which is full HP. Loda's going to try and push it out with the help of the Iron Shell, but this tier 2 tower is dropping faster, and there goes the charge. They're going to look to set up. Potential rotation from Ace, although Loda is well and truly back to safety and TPing himself out.
All right, there goes tier 2. All gone. Shrines now.
Which means there goes the shrines, probably.
Yeah. Free for the taking. Not sure if they want to go straight for this shrine, though. They Alliance do know Spirit Breaker is not here, as well as Timbersaw. Maybe wait until they have some reinforcements.
Got the Aegis, perhaps, so we'll see how they play this one out. SF, very, very scary. I always find it interesting. He did this last game, and it was just like, oh, that's unexpected. He doesn't actually go treads on S. I feel like that's something... I mean, it's a very small thing. It doesn't really change all too much, but I feel like most players will be picking up treads in the early game just for the cost-effectiveness of the item.
Who needs boots when you have wind laces, I guess? As to Joe, charging in on Jonas and Fun, but he's got the surge. He's far enough back, they don't want to pursue that one out.
Yep. One trend down, one to go. Doesn't look like the Sages is going to be any kind. This is like such a classic Cloud9 game. I feel like every game it's like, push like all the tier 1 towers by about 10 minutes in, take Roshan, push all the tier 2 towers with Aegis. Aegis expires, and then second Rosh is when they start eyeing off the high ground. Like the first Aegis is typically all the outer towers plus shrines down, and that's exactly what's happened this game.
I'm gonna draw him boots. Take these boots. EGM, take them. Take your poor boots, dude. It's 18 minutes in, he's wandering around. Oh god, EGM must be the most miserable support ever.
And he's probably being told, like, we need more sentries or something. Like, he's got 200 gold. Does that go towards boots? I don't think so. Tomb of Knowledge, which probably isn't even for him, you know. He's, like, going to have to pull that Tomb of Knowledge to, like, Slaughter or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Speaking of Slaughter, does he have Blink? No, he doesn't. All right, he's going to farm top. He's getting closer and closer.
Chen loses a couple creeps. Not the end of the world. One got eaten, another got killed, but... Don't imagine this was the stage of the game where C9 are eyeing off the Ags plus second Roshan timing of theirs, the Ancient Creeps for Chen. Perhaps want level 2 ultimate so you can get 2 Ancients, which is maybe a little bit further away, but this is kind of like a stage of the game where they're not really making a realistic attempt to push high ground. They'll make a realistic attempt to find some smoke pickoffs, though. That is going to be something that Limp has to be worried about.
Yeah, if they can keep Limp down, he's still a money bag. Even if Cloud9 are very, very far ahead, it's still 12,000 net worth on the Alchemist. He would be worthwhile kill, especially with all the experience that he has as well. They're not finding anything with the smoke rotation. They're just a bit slow. They are going to be able to get the charge out on Hanskin. Hanskin, whose Blink Dagger is in danger. It's in danger. He's got 2,200 HP. He needs 25 gold. Somebody give him a branch to sell.
He only loses 150 gold. Doesn't lose too much money based on the advantage we're seeing.
Yeah, that's true.
But, oh, there's another charge. Jonas, he's got no TP.
That's Joe. Vacuum. Nice play. Doesn't have the ultimate, so... EGM, oh god, EGM can't run away that quickly. He does have his boots now. Jonas upon Surge. Purge onto Hesta Joe. Slows down everything down. Nice plays. Will cover each other pretty well.
Looks like Loda found the courier.
Going straight for Ace. Ace? He's got a lot of armor. He's got the plate mail. The value plate mail.
He's unkillable, I'm pretty sure at this point. No magic damage, so to speak of. He's going to have a very early Shiver's Guard for the team. This gets harder and harder for Alliance. Next, Roshan, as mentioned, going to be the key timing from the Yag Scepter. Can be bought now for Rise if he wants to. And yeah, he's going to take you back to base to pick that one up, it looks like.
All right, well, what's his... They've got the Ancient Thunder Hides on both sides, so he might just have to get the early Frenzy and not the Golem.
Yeah, not too bad. Not the end of the world. I like this from Noya. Last game, something touched on was the lack of these teamfight pushing items. He goes for the mech this game. Last game it was a 4-staff and other items like that didn't really offer as much, so this time around, he'll make sure they have all those teamfight items. Well, last game on the Earth Spirit, it was a different kind of scenario, but even when he's playing the Ogre, he doesn't often go this mech build, but this is something that will complete the full 5-man push puzzle for Cloud9 and hopefully allow them to break through that high ground a little bit easier.
Loda's searching for any jungle of the farm, but most of it's covered. His jungle is covered. He ran into the SF.
Bloodstone on the ground. That Bloodstone was on the ground for a little bit too long in my mind.
DD for Loda alongside the Arcane Rune that he already has. But again, what are you going to do with it? There's no kills he could get, even with support.
Yep. Did end up finding a Granite Golem, so that's ideal scenario for the Chen. And I mean, Alliance, like, score aside, like, this is still not completely all over. We've seen how good their high ground defense can be. They've got the Alchemist. They are still going to be looking to just use that Darkseer Slardar duo to vacuum crush people with a wall on top, as well as the Alchemist Acid for the high ground defense and try and take it late, but
Jonas
we'll
almost
see how well
getting
that
hit.
works.
Managed to blink away ahead of the Shivas. You are right, Gods. Alliance, they do have experience being down by 20,000 net worth, which Cloud9 is very rapidly approaching. Their high ground defense, they've got the Alchemist, they have the opportunity for a comeback. Manta, Octarine, they just need to finish up those items so they can get the full split push. And maybe with those illusions pushing out constantly and the TPs around, maybe they can finally buy space for Clinks to farm jungle more. He picks up the Deso. Next thing you know, we have some real firepower on our hands.
Walks into Hestejo, but I'm not going to see anything there. I think this is where you just start backdooring tier 1s. Poke at them with some damage, and then Skeleton walk away. He's seeing bottom lane, I think just waiting for the Skeleton walk to come up. This is really all you can do at this point as a Clinks. It's better than nothing, but unfortunately his teammates are getting caught out right now.
Go, 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 Loda. You know the Spirit Breaker just charged.
Okay. Now I guess he's lost his window, but he's waiting perhaps for another charge or not. He's also lost his Death Pact, but yeah, I think with that Spirit Breaker charge, you just hit for 5 seconds. Even if you don't get the tower, maybe you get it the second time you do it, and any money for you and your team is valuable at this point.
Waits for the creeps. Jonas some fun, gonna be pushed back here. Bursted down by Ace with the Whirling Death. We'll give Loda some tower time, but yeah, Baby Knight. You get that one. They're threatening the tier 3s on both sides. They actually managed to dance around Limp, so he stunned himself. The Disruption's just going to set up Baby Knight for the ultimate with the Timber Saw over the top. It's too much damage. Ace, he's right in the middle of everyone, and none of Alliance can focus him down. He just had too much armor. They turn towards him now with the Corrosive Haze. They're trying to get in front of him, but it just doesn't do any damage. Now Loda has actually stepped a little bit too far. He's going to be charged up. He does have a Surge, but the stuns. Now a Disruption comes out, but Baby Knight does hit one raise off of that one. Shrines are healing Loda up. He's okay. Limp. He has the Unstable Concoction, knows that they really can't tread out too far outside the base. They're just buying themselves a little bit of time here. Cloud9 aren't really hitting on the buildings like they should, and they are losing some Chen creeps, and they are beginning to lose some HP. They can't go for the push.
Buybacks forced, though. I think ultimately they weren't going to be able to get the buildings on that push because of the buybacks, and now they'll just have to reset, heal up, and have another go with the Aegis. They've still got more than enough time to try and break through the high ground with it. They can wait for the Requiem to come back up if they want. They can wait for the Hand of God and then make another go at it. So still a big win, just making sure those buybacks go on cooldown. And now you've got Aegis with buybacks down. for a good couple of minutes. So Alliance under pressure. They actually smoke up, looking to take a fight, and perhaps recognizing that Cloud9 is somewhat split up, waiting for some of those cooldowns to come back up. If they can catch someone like Ace, that's also a gem, that'd be fantastic, but killing him, ooh, that'll be tough.
Yeah, it's gonna be... Man, Loda can't even split push anymore because the Shadow Blade. As long as Spirit Breaker remains off map, he's gonna be terrified at all times.
Yeah.
With vision down, they still won't know if Hesta Joe's coming for Loda's bony body. At least he's got that Deso though.
And yeah, they're not even heading... Oh, are they heading top? Looks like some of them are considering it, but now they kind of disperse out. EGM's picking up a gem.
All right, they hit the vacuum, stopping Ace's TP. Ace just keeps walking forward. Now, he is dropping pretty low here. He's going to try and get a Timber Chain away. The last couple of shots, Bloodstone deny. But still, that is Bloodstone charges down to 11. It's something for Alliance to hold on to. Oh, was it Gem too? Damn.
Yeah, he was the gem carrier. So now Alliance have both gems. EGM bought one of his own, which he's probably thinking, man, I wish I had that 900 gold right now. But, you know, you do what you got to do for your team. He took out some wards already with it. I mean, you needed... I mean, it's not like a necessity, but having a gem helps a lot with your base defense because it denies all that aggressive vision. So you can actually leave your base undetected, which is something where the second you leave your base, you're getting charged up early, and that's where Spirit Breaker really likes having aggressive vision on his team. So back to defending the high ground. Aegis still has 2 minutes left on it. There's an Eagle Song for Baby Knight. There's Backpack just for now, and I imagine they'll be eyeing off at least a high ground attempt using the Aegis.
Loda's not really ganking heroes. He's ganking creeps. Taking away some of the Chen creeps from time to time. He'll be set up now. Found a good place to farm. No one's around, finally. All of Cloud9 are right in front of the base for the most part, so he'll feel safe to be able to farm these 3 neutral camps and maybe start building up a buyback. That's the sad part, right? Is that buyback is kind of necessary for some of these Alliance heroes to hold on to, especially since they're missing 2 of them on the Darkseer and the Alchemist. So,
yeah.
Ooh, an interception on the Courier. That'd be a nice pickup.
I think he just wants to tower, but he'll see the Courier and should go for it. Loda. There we go.
Got it. Here comes the charge. TP out, Loda, run. Charge. Cloud9, though, start beating on the tier 3 tower. EGM forced away by just Manta Illusions. Here comes the concoction. Limp pops out with the vacuum. They managed to get a decent amount of damage done. Disruption now on a Baby Knight on top of the Darkseer wall. There's going to be a lot of illusions beating on a Baby Knight. He needs to start retreating. You could see already down to half health. Rise is forced to use his heal to help him out. They have to deal with this this wall and these disruption illusions first before they continue pushing.
I think for Alliance, just trying to buy time for that Aegis to expire. About 30 seconds left. Now this is where we may just see Baby Knight suicide himself.
Soul Catcher on Baby Knight. He looks to be committing. Unstable Concoction on to Hesta Joe with the stun from Hanskin. Does allow Loda the time to be able to get the damage done. The vacuum in, but it doesn't actually pull the SF. He just instantly dies. Now, second life. Pops his BKB. Looks to finish off the melee racks. He will have it. Now throws out that ultimate, just trying to force Alliance far enough back that Cloud9 can retreat without being pursued. Now Alliance are still going to try, and they may be able to get him too. Hanskin is smoked up. Thinks about initiating. Thinks better of it though. Cloud9 actually forming a decent high ground defense, knowing that just running away is probably not the best play. Might get caught.
Yeah, they need to back off together. This is where if like someone TP's out, that could be the death of 3 of your teammates. So no one's TPing out. They're just backing off together as a unit and setting themselves up to probably focus around that next Roche fight. They really need to try and get some vision and map control back, but very hard to do so having lost that gem. So just that one single kill really changes so much this game, with the gem being lost and suddenly Cloud9 being slowed down quite significantly. This is definitely where Cloud9 have struggled in the past, where they take all these outer towers. When they actually comes to executing the high ground push, they're not sloppy about it, but they just lack that player to take the initiative. The only way they get that melee racks is through Baby Knight just throwing away his Aegis, respawning with BKB, and then just BKB hitting it. Like, I feel like a lot of other teams you watch doing that high ground push are getting it in much cleaner ways by finding a jump, getting a pick off, or at least not having to just like brute force their way through it with the BKB. So C9 do end up getting the racks, but it doesn't come all too easily for them.
You do have some time to work with, but they do have to be worried. This Alchemist clock is ticking. He's got the Manta complete now in 2,700 gold, so he starts working towards that Octarine. The Octarine is really well there, where the farm build is complete for the Alchemist. He's spewing out these illusions non-stop and always has Chemical Rage. That's when the real scary time hits, so... Cloud9 still have a little bit to work with. No counter vision, of course, on C9, or at least no gem anyway, unless they're going to blind dust. So Loda feels comfortable scouting out all 5 heroes. Does see the full rotation, is going to start cutting the creep wave, or maybe not, just takes 1 creep and runs away. Yeah.
Against charge, you just can't. It's miserable. He's back mid, though. He knows there's no glyph, so this mid tier 1 tower should be a freebie.
Pew pew. Oh, just 1 shot. And another decent chunk of change for Alliance. What do you do with your Clinks, though? With the gold that he has? Once he gets enough to commit to an item, what is it?
I'd say Lincoln's. Personally, that's what I would want to get this game, just against that charge. So you can actually split push. The second your Lincoln's gets popped, you just invis run away. I think that's probably the item that will give him the highest impact on this game. Doesn't necessarily have a big impact in a team fight, but you're not really looking to team fight outside of a high ground defense. And there's no like big team fight, like there's no great amazing item for high ground defense. It looks like he's gonna go Orchid though.
Orchid, yeah.
Not a huge fan of this item, but I also don't like Ace's build. Not going for a Lotus Orb against the Slardar is, to me, a bit of a mistake. If he had I mean, one thing, it's extra armor. Another, you just get rid of the Corrosive Haze. Like, that time at top lane, like, having a Lotus Orb instead of an Ag Scepter seems to me like a better approach. The build that he's doing with the Ags gives him a ton of more burst damage, so it's like more like a counter to the Alchemist, but it doesn't help protect himself.
I do feel like they did enough to deal with the Alchemist in their early game. I don't think he really necessarily needed a build. I agree with you. I think the Lotus Orb would have done a lot for him. Hell, even bouncing back the Unstable Concoction.
Yep.
But either way, right? Well, he can get a Lotus Orb pretty quickly with the way that they're able to control the map after he gets this this Octarine.
He's gonna have to just be concerned about getting burst down at the start of a fight. Like if he gets Blink Crushed and then Unstable Concocted, even with an Octarine, he's not gonna be able to throw spells if he's disabled to get value from that lifesteal. But as it stands, I imagine there's gonna be like a Cheese or an Aegis coming his way if they want, with the next Roshan soon to spawn, and that's when we'll see Cloud9 probably go towards that top lane. Push on the opposite side from the melee racks they've already taken, and with an Aegis Cheese, that should be possible claim for themselves.
5 seconds until Roshan is up. Pretty early one. It's lucky for Cloud9. Though they may still wait, even if they get this Aegis. They still have the Satanic that's pretty close. They have the Octarine that's quite close as well. And then last one is BKB on Hester Joe. Those are all significant upgrades. I think in particular, Hester Joe's BKB would allow him to just be able to charge in against the Clinks and force defensive disruptions on that hero, which then sets Baby Knight up for a clear ultimate.
Baby Knight TP'd out just as the smoke gang came his way.
Oh, wow. Disruption hits just before he bumps the Clinks. EGM not able to make it out in time. That's going to be the gem back into the hands of the Spirit Breaker.
Ogre was just about to buy a new one. It looked like he had it queued up on his quick buy, but they'll get gifted one instead, which is a nice pickup to have. The whole time SF was in the Roche pit, securing themselves Aegis, and it's go time again for C9. Unless, like you said, there's perhaps a few key items that they're close to finishing between the Satanic and the Octarine core that they're possibly going to look to wait for first. SF, yeah, he's going to get a Satanic from the side shop and push out this bottom lane a bit more.
He's got Cheese in his backpack as well. They don't really need anybody else to have these extra lives. It's Baby Knight, who's going to be charged with pushing high ground. So it's going to put the Satanic, switch out the Dragonlance, and then have the Cheese available to fill up that Aegis slot when necessary. It's going to be a real test for Alliance. Near impossible one at that. Disruption goes out. Here comes the stun and a purge onto Baby Knight. They're trying to take this first life away from him without real commitment, but Baby Knight is still strong enough to fight through that and has a Satanic active still ready to go. Now the vacuum into the crush, but a BKB activated first. Baby Knight lets loose that ultimate. Hesta Joe got a charge, but Alliance did back away from the ultimate pretty nicely timed. Hesta Joe with the corrosive haze on him. Loda's trying to finish him off, but can't quite do it. Limp goes back in. Baby Knight trying to aid his way through this, but there goes that Aegis. They got the tier 3 tower, and they do have these SF disruption illusions. They're going to be able to beat on Baby Knight with the corrosive haze. He's going to lose his life pretty quickly. He eats, but it's not fast enough. Limp now comes forward. Ace trying to get away. Does get hit by the unstable concoction. He's so tanky, but they might still be able to bring him down with all this minus armor. He does fall. No deny this time around. A huge swing for Alliance. Did that even cost them buybacks? That wasn't a single buyback used.
It's like deja vu from the last fight. Alchemist doing, wow, 9,000 damage. And from the last game as well, that was another Alliance high ground hold. And Cloud9 struggling to break through again. They had Aegis, Cheese, both on the Shadow Fiend, and all they got was a tier 3 tower. That is concerning. You've got the Chen backing him up. Like, it's just not working for Cloud9. They, perhaps, I mean, it really is this very caveman-esque approach where it's just like go and bash your head against the enemy base and hope it works out. They perhaps need to be trying to smoke, find a pick off, use the Spirit Breaker charge, because they get no value out of their Spirit Breaker in a fight like that. They're just giving Alliance like a positional advantage, and Alliance heavily taking advantage of it.
Yeah, they're acting like Alliance is stuck inside their base at all times. That's not actually the truth here. Ace is already down to half health. Ace may drop before this whole entire fight happens. He gets the deny off this time around. EGM dies in return, but Cloud9 do not have the advantage in this engagement. They need to back away. Konskin's going to be able to catch more. Noya's going to be the target. Send back attempted here by Rise with a little bit of extra heal. Noya does get sent back in time, but Rise is going to be caught. Corrosive Haze surge onto Limp. He's here to take that Chen down. They did manage to keep the gem on Noya because of that send back save by Rise, but yet another win, and these wins are not insignificant. Even with the deny on the Timber Saw, that was still about 1,200 gold exchange by itself. Combine how much gold Alliance will get during this downtime. Maybe all these creeps, maybe even the tier 2 tower. Alliance, you're talking about a 2, 3, 4,000 gold swing in this minute worth of time.
Cloud9 trying to outdo themselves. They're like, all right, 20k gold lead last game. Let's do it with a 25k gold lead this game. This is...
I mean, that was a 20k gold lead by 40 minutes. This time around, they had a 20k gold lead about at 30.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of their approach to pushing high ground there. Just brute forcing it too much. I think their itemization isn't the best as well. Like, not having a Lotus Orb. If you could put a Lotus... Your SF goes high ground, you want him to have either a Linken's or a Lotus Orb. I think he should have gone a Linken's instead of Satanic, because then he doesn't get disrupted. That's what you saw Luna's doing when the team started picking SD against the Luna for the push, so you can make the Luna illusions. These Lunas just are on the front lines with a Linken, so you can't straight up disrupt her so easily. And I think if Baby Knight has a Linken's, if someone like Spirit Breaker has a Lotus Orb, or ideally the Timbersaw has a Lotus Orb, you put those items on SF, and that's a free Rax. I think with those items, it's a whole lot easier to push, and their approach to pushing their itemization this game has really made it difficult for themselves.
What do they do next, Gons? They wait for the next Aegis?
Roche number 4, you know?
Yeah, I guess.
The first 3 times don't work.
Try again.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine their change in approach is going to be trying to find those pickoffs before breaking high ground. I mean, they were even at a point where Alk and Darkseid didn't have buyback. They had Aegis. They theoretically could have just won the game right there. And Alliance, definitely one of the best high ground defending teams out there right now, really showcasing that. Alchemist is reaching that 6-slotted point, though. Not too many amazing Aghanim Scepters to go around this game. Shadow Demon probably one of the better ones, but other than that, it's like Darkseid is average. It's not amazing by any means. Perhaps the SF illusions can be quite potent, but any of the other illusions aren't going to matter all too much.
For some reason, I had it in my head that Clinks had an Aghanim Scepter upgrade, but I'm crazy,
I was honestly going through the different heroes, Slaughter as well. I was like, 7.00. Were there any new Ags upgrades on these heroes? Clinks and Slatter still do not have Ags,
Okay.
I believe.
For some reason, I was also thinking that at level 25, Clinks could eat. Oh wow, that's not good.
It's been his home for a lot of this game. This enemy ancients, he's often being able to farm there freely, but this time around he walks into a gem of all things.
Yes. This is the pickoff that you've been talking about for quite some time. Now it's time to brute force it, right, Gods?
Sort of.
At least brute force the buyback,
yeah,
right?
The buyback. Yeah. But ideally, if you're Alliance, you're thinking, let's buy back as Darkseer gets a good vacuum into Slatter, Crush, into Wall.
What are they doing? They're wrapping around with the smoke. This is a weird, interesting play, but they're going to be able to catch EGM if they stop this disruption. That's big. He does not have buyback. So the buyback comes in, reactionary from Loda. They do have a wall, though, and they do have a crush. That's a four-man vacuum wall crush with the unstable concussion over the top, but it's still not enough. Cloud9 has survived through it. Now they get the rebuttal, throw out the ultimate at Baby Knight, and they all start retreating. That was too close of a call for Cloud9. They don't want to fight until they can recompose themselves.
Yeah, that's finally some, I guess, nuance to their push. It's not just this, let's brute force it. It's this, okay, let's wrap around and get the Shadow Demon. That Shadow Demon SF illusions, that last fight, were probably like one of the biggest sources of damage from the Alliance side. So killing him makes a decent difference. Problem is now, he's going to be back alive, so you need to find a new plan, whether that's Roshan, whether that's getting another pick off. Loader bought back, so you have that buyback cooldown to play around, and they're probably thinking they can have Aegis and Cheese while Loda's buyback is still down, and then try and make a big play or get a big pick off.
Running back in, seeing if they can get a quick pick, and they'll have it. Hanskin with the Invis ultimate of Hesta Joe bumps him into a pretty nasty place. Another buyback being used by Alliance. Stun comes out. Ace making sure that he is always on the front lines. Even when they're retreating, wants to make sure he's the target. No one else.
Yeah, they're starting to pick Alliance apart, and every buyback can make a big difference. Again, it's like now there's two buybacks on cooldown when you get Aegis and Cheese, so Cloud9 likely just discussing, all right, are there any big items that we need? Because we want to push, the second we get this Aegis and Cheese, we want to be ready to go before those buybacks come back up. And Baby Knight looks like we'll have an Assault Crest fairly soon. We'll be somewhat item slot limited. Can perhaps swap it in once he's used his BKB in a fight.
He does need that intense armor upgrade against his own illusions like that.
Yeah. I guess it's also a temporary AC for your opponent, so is the other way of looking at it as well, though.
True.
Any Ag Scepters coming out from the Alk? Doesn't look like he's pulled. Did he pull one to the Ducks? No. What did he buy? He had more money earlier, didn't he? Oh, no, I guess not.
He didn't have the buyback, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. Oh, he got the AC. Okay, yeah, he had the Shivers, but not the AC. So he's replaced his armlet with the AC. There we go. I was like, I'm sure there was like 6k gold on Limp at some point. He didn't buy a Moonshard. But yeah, that makes more sense.
Illusion pushing out, checking out the Roshan pits. That is Alliance is another one of those windows maybe for a comeback if they're finally strong enough to go out and fight C9. Yes, it's an uphill battle, but before it wasn't even an option. Now they can do that. Maybe they can contest Roshan if they actually get the right vision. Unfortunately, the Illusion did not scout Roche, and it's going to spawn quite soon.
There is also a Bloodthorn unloaded for the next fight, and that's where again I feel like no Lotus Orb against Bloodthorn. Like, what is happening? 45 minutes in, you got to have some way of countering. I mean, the Baby Knight has his own. Like, he can personally Manta or BKB out, but if he's in a Crush or something, that Bloodthorn will amplify a lot of the damage coming out onto him. But he'll have an Aegis. He'll have plenty of survivability. It's probably more so what his team will have.
Drops his boots into the backpack, takes up the Aegis. Cheese will be grabbed by Ace.
And C9 have another smoke. I'd like to see them go for I don't know if you want to go for the same play because Alliance may be ready for it, but I think they needed somehow go through that bottom or top lane and try and catch some heroes by surprise. Ace may just die up top.
Ace is caught again. Now, he does have the cheese, and the team can make their way over. They're not bursting Ace down nearly fast enough, so he's going to be able to get a lot of damage on Hanskin, who's currently being charged. Finished up by Hasta Joe. No crush in time. They're going to catch a little bit more here. EGM tries to slow down Noya, but the rest of C9 coming forward here. Baby Knight gets a couple of swipes onto EGM. Turn around disruption. Wall vacuum. Great combination, but do they have any follow-up? Baby Knight activates the BKB. Let's lose the ultimate. Alliance all the way back to the shrines now, activating those and trying to fight underneath them as best as possible. Limp is tanking it up, but Loda has to deal with Ace's damage. Turns around, kills Noya. That's the gem on the deck. Limp, he doesn't have his chemical rage for another 4 seconds, so he's kind of humming around, not sure what to do as his melee racks ends up falling. Now he pops that chemical rage, but it's all up to Loda to dish out the damage. That's why Hesta Joe goes straight for the backline. Surge activated, but the stuns are still there. A vacuum wall together. Hesta Joe may drop from the Radiance, but it's Baby Knight who managed to finish off Jonas Mvan with the help of Ace. Now it's Limp and Jonas Mvan against the 3 of C9, trying to push them out of this space. And they don't have wall.
Without a wall now. Game gets a lot more difficult. Limp's down. Will have to buy back to try and salvage this one. They've got Shadow Demon as well, so they can try and use that disruption. And
they need the disruption to go down. They managed to get the vacuum in with the crush. Baby Knight does not have a BKB, so he's going to be stunned up with his own illusions fighting into him, but the Satanic is doing a little bit too much. The Corrosive Haze, though, it finally comes in, and that is the extra damage needed. Ace will fall as well. Round 2 for Baby Knight, but he's just getting instantly stun locked down. Rise can't even send him back to base, so Rise is going to fall as well. Somehow, someway, Alliance find a way to be able to hold this game together for a little bit longer.
Yeah. Alliance is such a roller coaster team. Like, they start that fight off at top lane in such a disastrous way, missing... I mean, Loda, I think, starts the gank a bit too early because Slater was not in position for the Blink Crush, and it scared off the Timbersaw, so that Slater then ended up missing the Crush. They didn't get the Corrosive Haze off. With a Bloodthorn there and no way out for the Timbersaw, that should be a free pickoff. If he comes out with the Crush and the Corrosive Haze, Timbersaw dies very fast since he has 0 reactive armor charges at the start of the gank, but they basically throw away their lives because they mess up that gank and put themselves in a terrible position, but through sheer force of will and their amazing high ground defense, again, Alliance hold on for a little bit longer.
Remember that? What was it? It was a qualifier. I think it was the Shanghai qualifiers, or maybe it was the Frankfurt. The Mega, it was Alliance versus I think Nip at the time, and Nip had Mega Creeps. You know, if this happens, if Cloud9 lose this game, it will be very similar because it may not be Mega Creeps involved, but they had enough of an advantage that Cloud9,
it's now a bigger advantage. 35k gold. Like, I don't think there's much more you can get in terms of items and advantage at this point. 4 racks as well. No Mega Creeps.
Also, Gods, apparently Ace, he thinks your ideas are dumb. He's never going to go Lotus Orb. He's going Dagon. Corrosive Haze is not a problem, apparently. EGM. Oh, Hesta Joe almost had him, but he managed to walk out of range of that gem. Won't be able to stay ahead of it. Hesta Joe actually turns towards Limp instead, but he already got the stun with the Bloodthorn. Ace is getting ripped apart. He managed to get off the deny, but that may not be good enough. He's out of the fight, and Baby Knight's going to have to carry this damage alone. He's already killed EGM, though. He's underneath the wall. Limp is pursuing him. They really want to be able to catch him with the BKB down, but they'll have to suffice with just a Rise kill instead. The Corrosive Haze, and they get that kill. Hesta Joe did manage to get away, it looks like. They don't have gem on either one of these heroes. Noya, he's far enough south that I'm not sure if they want to pursue that either.
Are they going to force a lane here? They've got creeps straggling along in mid. Well, I think Ace can have a few words about my ideas based on how he died that fight.
Where is the Lotus Orb, Gods? Where is it?
Geez, I'm getting so tilted right now. If this was my pub game, I'd be raging so hard right now on my mic if this was my teammate.
I mean, Hesta Joe got an Aghanim Scepter over having a Lotus Orb to save his Timbersaw SF.
Yeah. I mean, I think more than anything, it's on Ace. Like, you just buy that Lotus Orb yourself. You buy that Lotus Orb after you get your Shivers God. Even if you don't, at some point, you're going to be like, all right, someone's going to get something to get rid of the Bloodthorn. Nope. No one is. Everyone's just like on their own. SF's like, I'm fine. I don't need to get help out. I just BKB or Manta out. But yeah, that is something.
Did we mention the Ags that was passed over to Darkseer now?
No, that's a new pickup.
Yeah, that is a juicy pickup too. 140% replica damage now. When he hits that SF, it's a huge win for them. Mutant Shard is going to be the next pickup for our Alchemist. So he has 6 slotted right now.
More big late game talents looking like Timbersaw gets the extra Whirling Death reduction. Alchemist, what's Alchemist 25? I feel like he's 30% life still. That's fairly handy.
Oh yeah.
SF, of course, having the extra attack range. I feel like SDAGs could be very handy this game. Triple Demonic Purges.
Oh, for sure.
And if you go on the Timbersaw at the very start, you take away that reactive armor.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The BKB's dwindling here for C9. All down to 5 seconds apiece. Baby Knight starts going for the high ground once again. Tries to go for the man to dodge on top of the unstable concoction. Now has to deal with Wall of Replica on top of him. Covering his tracks, though. They get a 4-staff back, and Ace with the double chakram keeps Alliance from pursuing. That is the Wall of Replica down. I think C9 are happy enough with that.
Will they re-engage now, though? It's still a scary thought for them, I imagine. Be careful about how they approach this one. They're trying to just sit back. They are still scouted out by the Corrosive Haze, which is about to wear off an Alliance. Okay, they're not actually going to go out. They just run some illusions through, trying to get to the following creep wave, and are losing most of their Radiant Vision outside of their base.
Pushes are slowly coming in from top and bottom. Here comes another route. Now, the last time they did this, it was a huge win. Ace kind of reveals it with that chakram, but who knows? Maybe he was out of vision. Maybe they'll still be able to get this one. Loda pops the smoke. Does manage to get far enough back that he doesn't get caught by Hesta Joe. Lim turns around, but the BKB activated by Baby Knight. He goes straight for the melee racks. He doesn't give a damn about any heroes, but there goes the Glyph. Now he has to do something, but a disruption. The BKB's gone. Baby Knight in trouble. Has to throw out his ultimate out just to be able to deal with those own illusions. Ace barely gets out with a Timber Chain, but Baby Knight right in the middle of everything goes for Jonas Fon. Actually gets stunned up, gets a little bit more Satanic heal, a little bit more, but the Satanic is now gone. Limp takes a dagon shot from Ace. They activate the Shrine. They're keeping themselves alive. Hanskin in the back even survives. How the hell are they doing this? Loda turns towards Ace. Baby Knight's finally going to get dropped here. Gets a 4-staff Hurricane Bake or the clip, but he does go down. They've lost Baby Knight. They can push out, see if they can catch anything. Doesn't look like it. So Cloud9, they don't get that melee racks. They committed so heavily for it, but the glyph was used, and the whole entire fight ensues, and Cloud9 don't actually win.
This is some Dota game. This is just getting crazier and crazier as it goes on. And another big hold from Alliance. Cloud9 going to be beating their heads against the wall at this point, thinking, what do we actually have to do? And I feel like the problem is their approach to winning this game is just that. They're beating their head against the Alliance.
Oh, there's an Aghanim's ulti. Hits Hanskin pretty hard, but there is still the Bloodthorn Corrosive Haze on Ace, and that's way too dangerous. They have to run away, even with that resounding bump from Hesta Joe.
Nice use of the Ags there, but Alliance, SF down, they are pressing forward, seeing what they can get. They're going to get themselves a Roshan. This is great for them. Their carries actually have item slots. Loda's got a Ring of Aquila. He's got a gem. He's got plenty of room for an Aegis of Genius. He would love to have one of these.
Loda's still rocking the healing salve and infused raindrop in his backpacks. those are relics from a former era.
How fitting that it's Loda who carries.
I mean, I wasn't going to make that joke, but I'm glad you picked up on it. All right.
EGM's been pulled in Acceptus. So triple Demonic Purge with Break.
Holy shit, EGM is rich. He's 13,000 net worth. He's above people in net worth.
How times have changed since he had no boots in 18 minutes.
Back when I was trying to draw him boots. EGM... He's now the wealthiest man in the support village. Oh, jump here on Hanskin. They managed to get a good stun and a disruption. That'll be threatening, but EGM already has some issues. He managed to eat the cheese. Hester Joe still pursuing out on the side. Baby Knight just kept running forward. Those illusions are actually not doing much, though. Hester Joe with the corrosive haze has issues. He goes down. Noya right in the middle of all of them as well. But Alliance doesn't care about those supports. They really want Baby Knight. They desperately need this kill. They're going to have to take Rise again instead. Baby Knight does manage to get out. Looks like the other core of Ace turns around, fights Hanskin a little bit. Do have the boots of travel too.
They seem to know where Noya is, but he's got to force TP out. So see if Loader can find him or not.
Pew, pew, pew. Bloodthorn. Oh, not enough.
He's going to live.
He's good.
Well, good bait from EGM. He goes charging in, takes a lot of spells, pops the cheese at a good time. Just getting that disruption off on SF, proven to be very in these fights. And Alliance actually pushing out lanes. Wow. Then for once they're not defending high ground. It is now a 15,000 net worth lead, which is very good for Alliance considering where it was 5-10 minutes ago.
Oh yeah. I mean, the experience graph is almost even. It was never in the favor of Alliance, and we are drifting back towards an Alliance lead.
Close to the Darkseer clinks to 25. Clinks halfway there. Darkseer is still a full level away, but 12% cooldown reduction. Pretty damn nice for Jonas.
Oh no, they have the gem on EGM. They managed to catch Hester Joe, but he does have the BKB charge out. That is actually a pretty nifty escape. They do not have a way to deal with that, so he scouts them, sees all of Alliance bottom, gets some good information.
Okay. It's 5-second BKB anyway, so it doesn't matter. He has to use it, and Alliance have to get back to base. They're walking through Observer Ward vision as well, something they haven't been able to scout out even though they've got a gem. And I wonder how much C9 just want to wait for that Aegis to expire. It's 2 minutes away. Feels like none of their plans as far as breaking high ground are working. In my mind, you definitely just want to let that Aegis expire. Often we've seen teams just fight into Aegis if they feel stronger, but kind of at that point where it's like a C9 really stronger. They are struggling to close this game out.
Yeah, you won't have the Death Pact when you come back, and it seems like it's better to let Cloud9 just crash into you at this point.
Yep. Curious to see if Limp looks to progress in terms of like using his backpack for extra big items, like to toggle in and out of like the Manta or Shivers when they're on cooldown in a fight. They do a very short cooldown, so it does perhaps come with
Smoke pops. They found Hester Joe. They're going to be able to catch Noya as well. Hester Joe should be able to get out maybe with a charge. Oh no, the BKB wears out. He gets disrupted. Hester Joe going to be lost here as well. He is back in 40 seconds, so he's got that minus 40 respawn time, just like Lone Druid.
That's pretty nice for a Spirit Breaker to be able to play that aggressive scouting role and do so at lower risk. Load at mid may just take out some of these Chen Ancients. Don't want to risk it though. Limp being constantly pulled back. He's queued up another Ag Scepter, so this will be a stat sags for either himself or a teammate.
Who do you think has more value at this point?
Probably just the Clinks, I guess. Give him some stats, but
does he actually? That is brilliant. Well played, EGM. He purges off the callback from the Chen. Nice Manta dodge too.
I was watching
that was
Limp,
dope.
I was like, I don't think that stun's gonna work too well for you, but that's yeah. Through
Well
some
played.
practice, you can time that pretty well, but even through practice, that's a very hard one to make. Will he get another Ags? He does. I feel like I'd rather see him go for like a 7-slotted. I don't know what item like. I guess BKB potentially against the Timbersaw. Abyssal Blade's another consideration. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you start
Mjolnir?
switching out one of those armor items, like the Shivas for Abyssal?
Abyssal, Mjolnir, both sound like a potential good late game item. Even a BKB, because that Timber does so much damage. Oh, Ace has done it. C9 have won. Hallelujah.
Nice.
It took him 59 minutes, but he's there.
He's got the Dagon 5 too.
I can breathe properly again.
Refresher being built by Jonas and Fun. Now here's another question for you gods. Is that worth not having buyback? I think it might be. He gets the opportunity to complete refresher.
I think so. Play for the win, not to just drag out the game.
A charge onto Limp. Nothing's going to come of it, though. Oh, God, this game is tense. Cloud9 trying to go high ground for like the 50th time this game. Silence. Manta dodge. Does still manage to get off that unstable concoction. Bounces back to Limp. Stun there. Ace going to be feeling a little bit more pokes from Loda. Does have some decent armor. Another Bloodthorn being used, this time on Limp. That cooldown is so low.
I feel like Loda really needs to fight around this ladder. He does not have enough items or really dish out all that much damage, so he needs to be attacking heroes that are hazed up, or at least being locked down by like the Alchemist or something.
Zap down, stable concoction, pursuing Baby Knight. Now bounce back there with the Lotus Orb, but again, seems like both these teams are just poking at each other, waiting for the opportunity. There goes that Bloodthorn used onto Baby Knight here. They get a disruption now. This is a good opportunity for Alliance to push forward. They have some good damage, but they miss out on the crush. Baby Knight gets the BKB off. Now let's lose that ultimate, and Limp is held in place. He's been janked down. The Dagon, it pulls him down, and they do have to buy back on him almost immediately. Cloud9 have forced a buyback, and that's all they want out of this. But Jonas Amfon, he looks for the pursuit. He managed to get the Sight Device. Good send back there. Cloud9 maybe dropping some heroes. They're probably going to lose Rise, but it looks like that's the only one. These heroes... Oh, no, that's not the only one. They caught Noya as well. But these are mostly the inconsequential heroes. Spirit Breaker comes back so quickly, and the other two cores are still alive.
Yeah, and Alliance will be very hesitant to push with a Limp's buyback on cooldown. That's the kind of play which will lose them the game. After all their hard work to drag this one out to defend their high ground, any kind of big 5-man push into potential buybacks could be your Alchemist dying and the game just ending right there. So they'd much rather take Roshan. Dire Scan will see Hanskin walk into the pit. We're at that minimum Roche respawn time now, so we'll find out soon enough. How long is it going to be? It's a short one, 40 seconds, but Cloud9 will have their entire team up for it. They're worried about Alliance snagging it.
Oh my God. I've been on the edge of my seat for... It feels like a half an hour, God. This is a big difference from Game 2 as well. When we were just kind of like sitting back, you know, waiting for these pushes, waiting for Cloud9 to go for it again. But here, Cloud9 they've tried to go high ground, and I feel like I'm not actually exaggerating when I say like 15 times.
Yeah, that seems accurate. They are very persistent, and it's paid off at times, giving them these 2 lanes of Rex advantage, but it doesn't really feel like an advantage at this point in the game. The entire Radiant side able to push out these lanes, and any farm advantage you once had is no longer an advantage, given that everyone is 6-slotted effectively at this point, outside of a select few.
Pushing forward, taking that high ground. They get the Scythe. Lotus Orb takes that one off, and there's a disruption, but it doesn't matter. It's the SF illusions that are really important. He goes for it. And again, BKB and ultimate. Every single time he gets disrupted. Hester Joe aiming for Limp, but he actually doesn't manage to get it off. He gets taken out by Loda's damage too quickly. C9, they're on this low ground. It's a terrible place to be. Now Ace has been stunned up before he can Timber Chain away, but Limp, he's trying to man fight up against Baby Knight, and he ends up going down the last couple of shots. Another round of disruption, and this time around, Baby Knight and Scythe Device up. He can't defend himself. He's Corrosive Haze. The illusions bring him down. Ace is the next target with the help of the Lotus Orb. He's trying to fight up against Hanskin, trying to get away, but the silence is lasting a bit too long. He does finally get a little bit more into Hanskin. It looks like with the buybacks of C9, they will protect Ace's life, and it's Alliance who run back because they have 100 seconds left on the Alchemist.
There we go. He got the refresh. He pops it immediately. It was 40 seconds away from the wall, but that's 40 seconds he actually would have had the 40 seconds because C9 go for Roche. They're going for the Aegis before the defense, so misread by Jonas. He could have actually waited for that wall to come back up, and now we'll have to play without it. 80 seconds. This is going to be tough. They've got to try and focus Baby Knight, but he's got an Aegis now to make up for that lack of buyback.
Oh man, the Alchemist was so close to getting back to. If the Alchemist was still alive, able to walk away from that engagement, Alliance could have another one of those legendary holds, but it begins. They manage to get the vacuum wall, but it doesn't actually clip the Baby Knight. He's just fighting up against his own disruption illusions. Has to go. Going straight for Loda in the background to actually use his ultimate, but he's already been Hurricane Piked farther back in the back lines. Hester Joe is too deep in, and Baby Knight's having a hard time fighting into this wall. He goes through it, and the illusion rips him apart immediately. That's going to be the Aegis. Another charge in. Hester Joe trying to force Loda back while Baby Knight goes for these illusions, but he does not have buyback. He can't afford to just suicide for Megas at this point in time. Baby Knight dropping a half health. Satanic kills him out the full. Loda all the way back, tries to have to go back to the fountain at this point in time just to be able to survive through all of this. C9 to push the Alliance back farther and farther back, and the Clinks ends up dropping. They've taken down the 2 damage dealers. Alliance are left with nothing left. They have to get through these tier 4 towers, but no buyback on Loda. They try and go for ace here with the Corrosive Haze, but they just lack the physical damage without the Alchemist, without the Clinks. Baby Knight comes forward. He'll take apart the rest of Alliance, and that will be it. Cloud9, destined or cursed for second place. Whatever way you want to put it, Cloud9 will take second place in their group and move on to the playoffs. Hats off to both teams. Hats off to Alliance, man. I mean, we're gonna talk about more Cloud9. We're gonna cast more games to them, but goddamn, Alliance 2 games in a row fight to the goddamn bitter end like that.
I mean, that's exactly that. Hats off to Alliance. If there's one thing this team knows how to do, it's fight. They are so persistent. They've gone through so many ups and mostly downs over the past couple of years, but they will always play their hearts out for their fans and for themselves. They made this so tough for Cloud9. They were so close at the end. Even that last push, like if Jonas had the double wall, double vacuum, Loda was 100 gold short of having buyback. Like that was, they almost held without the Alchemist there. That was incredible. Absolutely fantastic series from both these teams.
Oh man, Alliance fought so hard game 2, fought so hard in game 3 as well, but they will be knocked out of the DAC European qualifiers. Well done by Cloud9. I mean, that was systematic, both the beginning of game 2 and 3. Their systematic approach to being able to take objectives and all of that, but it's the fact that they managed to keep their head about them still, despite losing that game 2 and almost losing game 3 like this after what you would feel like, you know, is inevitable wins for you. And they lost that game 2, and they almost lost control of game 3 to still manage to keep their heads cool as well. That was also well done by Cloud9 in that regard.
Yeah, it's a big win for them as a team. They're going to go into a tough playoffs, but definitely a good sign for them moving forward, that they can kind of keep their composure when it matters and close out a tough series. I'm exhausted. I'm sure these teams are probably feeling it even harder though.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm just taking the time to check out some of the graphs and stuff, because that was quite the game to end our European qualifiers group stage. That is the end of the GXL group stage, and we're going to be heading into playoffs, and that is when things get a bit different for our format. Europe, as well as I think NA are going to keep doing their playoffs. All I know is Europe's going to keep doing our playoffs no matter what, and we're basically splitting up the regions. Yeah,
it's Europe and one of the other regions, perhaps SEA even, not sure. But tomorrow's the 8th of Feb. Yeah, we're doing SEA and Europe playoffs for 3 days, and then NA and CIS playoffs the 3 days after that.
So if you've been joining Gods and I for the European qualifiers, be sure to keep following. It's 15 CET starting time again tomorrow for the beginning of the European playoffs. So we hope to see you there.